Hello, Free Play Arcade Community Group. My name is Austin Smith, and I am creating a video for us in a series that we're referring to as Talk Nerdy to Me. And I say for us because I'm creating this video so that you can be more comfortable playing Defender if you're not already. And so we're going to have a series of videos like this where we get into some of the deep technical details of the game. I'm going to start this one off as really kind of an introduction to Defender. I'm going to set a goal of playing through probably Wave 4, and I'll explain the reason why as we go through it. But while playing through Wave 4, we're going to get a lot more than 10,000 points. Really what I want you to walk away with, if you're not familiar with playing Defender, is I want you to walk away with that comfort of getting to your first 10,000 point game. So I'm going to just have you watch my playthrough on some of the techniques. In later videos, we will get into some of the in-depth details around Defender. I'll actually pull the back off of the machine and we'll show some of the details around the ROMs inside. We'll talk about the different ROM versions that present a very different game depending on what version you're on and what difficulty setting you're on. This is an actual Defender arcade machine that I have in my house. It is not, for example, anything that you're seeing that's done with MAME or a J-Rock board or a 19-in-1 board. There's no trickery going on around this. It is a fully functional original Williams Defender arcade. And I'm going to show a little bit about the control panel and how I normally rest my hands. As you can see here, I've got a camera shot so that you can see my hands throughout the play in conjunction with the screen. It's going through its attract mode right now. I would say look at the control panel for now. We'll go over all of the information about the different enemies in just a moment. But the control panel itself, the four most commonly used buttons and or controls are where I have my hands resting. So you can see right now I've got my left hand on the up and down movement, which is the two-way joystick. I've got my left thumb ready at the reverse, and then I've got my right hand index finger. Typically you're going to be holding down thrust, and then I use my right middle finger to use it for fire. Fire and reverse are I would say your most commonly used buttons, and certainly they're the ones you're going to use most repeatedly in terms of fast action movements. But you're going to use those four buttons and or controls almost simultaneously, and then after that, in terms of order frequency, you would use your smart bomb. You'll probably use your smart bomb once you get up around wave 4. You'll probably use it at least once per wave. We'll talk about smart bomb conservation and some of the more advanced topics in subsequent videos. And then what I like to call your button of last resort, that's hyperspace. And the reason why hyperspace is a button of last resort is because it is unpredictable in exactly where it's going to drop you off in space. So it's not exactly the safest thing to do. Now regarding the enemies, you'll notice when it comes back up on the screen, there are two main areas in Defender you want to look at. There is an area of terrain, the portion of the terrain that you can see down kind of in your working visual window, and then there's a scanner image at the top. And the scanner image at the top, it has the entire surface of the planet that is present. So the way you use those two is, when I'm pointing down here at the bottom, this is my area that I'm playing in. It's the visible area to me, but it scrolls across. You can see there's mountains up here at the top in the scanner that aren't in my visible area. And the important thing about that is I'll talk to you about how sounds and different cues can be used to understand what might be going on around you in just a moment. Right now on the attract screen, I want to talk about the different enemies. The lander. Lander goes down, picks up the humanoid. If it gets to the top, becomes a mutant. You want to prevent that if you can. The baiter that you see on the screen there, you're faster than every other enemy on that screen except for the baiter. The bomber that you see moves in a sine wave pattern. The last two enemies that were on the screen, they're no longer there as it's rolling through, but the pod, when you shoot the pod, it breaks open and releases swarmers. There's a variable amount of swarmers in a pod, and I'll show you in wave 4, that'll actually be the first wave that I use a smart bomb on, how we can use a little bit of technique and helping us get the edge on our likelihood of using a smart bomb and killing all the swarmers that are in those pods, so they don't have to shoot them individually. And you can see as it's going through the playthrough there, capturing that humanoid. If you shoot the lander that has tried to take away with it up to the top of the screen, if you capture it, it's 500 points. Also, if you land it, it's another 500 points. So you can actually get a lot of points collecting those humanoids and saving them. So now I'm going to go ahead and press one player start button on it. You'll see that I go to the bottom of the screen. Another observation is you can see up at the top I've got 5 enemies that are on the planet currently. They come through with the landers in waves of 5. So you see they've just added another 5. You hear that audio cue right there of the humanoid being picked up. Sounds in Defender are very, very important. And the reason they're important is because that's probably one of your best cues in playing the game, is knowing that somewhere on the planet you've had a humanoid picked up. And you can see that I can also reference my scanner after I hear it. Very important that you hear that. Defender is incredibly hard to play without that sound element, unless you're just doing like a perhaps a training game where your goal is not to get as high as possible, but rather to make the game as difficult as possible, and you just want to play with what you can see in front of you. There actually are some advanced techniques where you actually put a device over the scanner and play without the scanner altogether. Interesting thing here is, well, I actually was able to hit that baiter, but once you've got all 10 men, I can sit here and fire and slow the processor down considerably. It's very hard for it to draw that fire. In Defender, unlike some other games, it actually gives you all the CPU that you can take. You see that baiter has actually hyperspaced off of the screen, and it did so because I've got all of the humanoids here with me, and it simply can't render everything on the screen at once. So you'll see that it hyperspaces off the screen after about 3 shots at it. I may get this one, or may hyperspace out first. So that's just another little bit of a technique. There's also a technique where you can drop 8, 9, or 10 humanoids and cause the machine to freeze. Twin Galaxy does not allow for that. I'm going to go ahead and set all these down and get my 10,000 points. That was our goal for the game. You'll see that I try to stop the baiters at the point that they're hyperspacing in. They're just easier at that point in time. Wasn't able to get that one. Again, you're not faster than the baiter, so you kind of want to take that into consideration. I normally wouldn't take that long to clear out this level. Obviously, I'm talking through some things for the benefit of everyone. Finish that level with all 10 of the humanoids. Wave 2, a lot of people would, perhaps start using a smart bomb here. I'm going to recommend that you don't. Get to the point that you're comfortable really, shooting through the first 4 waves, which is, I'm actually, well, let me change that. I want to say being able to shoot through the first 3 waves. I'm going to play through wave 4 as a demonstration. But if you can shoot through the first 3 waves, you can see my score right now. I'm about to get yet another extra ship and smart bomb. And so the great thing about that is that'll help us out in the long run. This is actually a technique called kiting. I've turned around just to the point that they won't. So I'm close enough to them that they won't turn around. And I can follow them like that for quite some time. And that's actually a good technique. Wave 3, that begins 3 pods. I'll save those probably towards the end. You can certainly point press in this game. You've seen me take a lot of the humanoids and save them, and that's, can be up to 1,000 points, 500 for catching it, and then another 500 for landing with it. And you can see I've got other humanoids that are going to the top here. You'll see that I turn around a lot on the attack of the mutants. I don't necessarily try to take them head on. Now if I let that drop all the way at that height, that humanoid would have exploded. It would have been lost. The physics of Defender allow the humanoids to fall safely to the ground from a little bit of height, but not much. So if they're more than just a little bit off the ground, you really want to be able to catch them, or else they're going to be lost. You also want to be careful not to get caught into the crossfire of multiple swarmers. And as I'm talking through this, I'm obviously using a little bit more time than I would normally do, but you can see the kiting technique is very, very useful on taking care of the swarmers. And of course I got killed right there at the end of the wave. Now this is where I'm actually going to give the example of using a smart bomb. And so I'm going to get as many of these pods on the screen as possible, let them line up. It looks like I only got 2 of them there, but you see the point is I was able to have them cleanly disposed of, meaning that there were no swarmers that got out of those pods that I used the smart bombs on. And I point that out because the way you really accomplish that, and obviously you'd like to get all 4 pods on the screen if possible, but the way you accomplish that is just coming to a stop. Well, how do you come to a stop when you're sitting there, you've got all that space to go through? That was kind of the example I'm showing right there, just trying to come to a dead stop. Easiest way is just to use that reverse and leverage it. So if you go in using the smart bomb and you got all the pods on the screen, and you can leverage it. Obviously I only had 2 there, but leveraging it by using the reverse to really slow yourself down and not hitting thrust at the same time. What that will allow you to do is you can typically get all of your swarmers that are inside of the pods at that point, and that's really useful. Now as I said, I was going to play through 4 waves. Now you can see I got all of the pods on that screen right there, and I broke nice and clean all of them, meaning I didn't have any, so I don't have any swarmers to contend with. Now, you can probably tell just on the little bit of the game that I've played this far that it makes for a much easier wave to get through. And obviously I've died anyways because I'm sitting here talking, but the point is it makes for a much easier wave to get through if you're able to have those break clean and not have to contend with all of the swarmers afterwards. I'll go ahead and play through this wave just to show a few other things. So, physics of Defender. You can pass through all of the terrain features, but the enemies cannot. And they can pass through each other, but you cannot pass through them. So I just thought I would point that out because it's also another important element of the game when we talk about the physics of the game. So this will clear out this wave. And at this point I'll go ahead and sign off for now. We'll do some more complex examples for Defender and extending gameplay, and we'll talk about some of the different ROMs as I promised in upcoming videos. But for now, I'll go ahead and sign off and just say to everyone thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I hope you found it useful. I hope you had as much fun watching it as I did creating it, and I'm sure that we will be talking to you very soon on another video upcoming. And for now, we will sign off, and I'll just say that I hope everyone has a great day or evening out there in Free Play Land, and until we meet again, everyone take care.